Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Robert Stickle. I'm also joined by my colleague Jim Patterson. Jim will be today's presenter and will discuss the topic of evolution of adaptive PPM, how OnePlan AI is revolutionizing project portfolio management. This webinar is a new addition to our series of adaptive webinars, so if you enjoy this video, feel free to watch the others we have available on our channel and look towards the next installment, which will be releasing soon. And as always, I hope that today's presentation grants you some insight into the world of project and portfolio management and gets you excited for the new developments happening within the industry and here at OnePlan. Thank you again. I'll now turn the presentation over to Jim.
Thanks, Robert. Welcome, everybody. Today, we're going to talk about OnePlan and a solution for adaptive project and portfolio management. We're also going to expand upon some of the things we've talked about in the past regarding adaptive PPM, and then talk about how AI that is being leveraged by OnePlan is revolutionizing and augmenting and becoming a valuable assistant for people who are managing project and portfolio management in an adaptive approach. So let's talk about some of these things today. First, we'll talk about some adaptive project and portfolio management concepts. You know, in this day and age, a lot of different methodologies and frameworks are being used to manage and execute on projects. It goes without saying that the use of agile approaches is growing as organizations try to become more nimble and more agile in the way that they actually deliver things. But waterfall is still widely used by a lot of people and organizations out there. There's also variations of agile, cherry-picked personalized versions of that, or some hybrid methodologies where some projects are managed with some aspects of agile and some waterfall. The idea here is that there's needs out there for flexible execution methods, and it's not a one-size-fits-all world out there. Now, as organizations are striving to become more agile, there's transformation journeys happening out there. If we look at this diagram, maybe from the right over to the left, we look on the right where we have the green node, where more traditional project portfolio management has been done for quite some time. This tends to be more waterfall oriented with more traditional portfolio governance and management practices. But a lot of organizations are striving to become more agile, and some even aspire to go all the way over to the left to the dark blue to become full agile portfolio management oriented and agile execution oriented. That being said, those journeys can take years to fully be accomplished. And even for folks that aspire to get all the way over to the left, there's a period during that journey of multiple years where they'll end up in an adaptive portfolio management realm, where they have a hybrid of both agile and waterfall methodologies and some different approaches in there. Now, the analysts like Gartner are finding now that even though the aspiration may be to become fully agile, the vast majority of organizations end up in an adaptive mode where they'll always have some concept of some agile, some waterfall frameworks, and a variety of portfolios that they're going to manage. The message here today is that OnePlan can support you and has tools to support you wherever you're at in this transformation journey and wherever you decide you'd like to end up. Now, adaptive PPM is more than just mixed methodologies. It also has the idea that there's many portfolios that may exist in organizations. We sometimes talk just about the project portfolio, but there's also things like IT service portfolio, product portfolios, application portfolios that people are managing. And the key is we have to, in an adaptive world, be able to accommodate all of that and provide quick visibility and transparency so that we can make good adjustments and good decisions and have visibility across all the efforts that are going on within the organization and provide a single source of truth for it all. So this dimension of multiple aspects or multiple portfolios is something that's also inherent in this adaptive approach. Now, given that multiple methodologies and approaches and different types of work are going on in the organization, compounded by the availability and easy access to cloud-based tools, there is a trend towards there being a proliferation, in many cases an over-proliferation of tools across an organization. This matrix here that was derived from just one of our clients showed that there, down the left of the different disciplines and over the top the different departments or units of the organization that are using tools, you can see that there is a plethora of different tools that are being managed, including things like spreadsheets to manage projects and portfolios across the organization. And it makes it difficult to get things done sometimes, to get all that data aggregated and rationalized for decision making and information purposes. Now, in this adaptive realm, where we have multiple methodologies and multiple tools, OnePlan is designed to help accommodate all that. Now, the teams need to execute how they need to by the types of work they have and the tools that they're using. And down below, you can see we have mixed methodologies of some iterative and some waterfall. And the tools that are being used for that might vary. People might be committed to using things like Azure DevOps or Jira for agile approaches, or Microsoft Project for a waterfall type of project. Or they may just be using something like OnePlan for all of it, to be quite frank. But in this realm, to be able to have teams be able to use the execution tools they want, the methodologies and approaches that they need, but have them roll up to the portfolios for leadership the way they need to see things is important, so that they can actually see how their investments are tracking and where they need to make decisions and redirect as required. So the teams get to execute how they need to, but leadership gets the visibility it needs. Now, even if people go to a full Agile transformation and all work is being done in Agile, they still might be being done in different tool sets, like an Azure DevOps, a Jira, or even a OnePlan. That doesn't change it. It might change the framework and the way they roll up data and the way they look at it, maybe into value streams and things. But sometimes the teams are using more Agile metrics for the execution of things like burn-ups and burn-downs and velocities, where leadership may still need the language of the business, financials, progress, delivery dates, etc. And OnePlan gives you the ability to accommodate the needs of all these constituencies. Now, I would say this, Gartner, in defining adaptive project management and reporting process flow, down below in the sub-bullets, you see it is multiple execution tools, varying needs in different parts of the enterprise, to diversified execution methods, etc. But if you notice up top in the big nodes, that the things that we need to do are very similar to what we've done in the past, where there's a demand and intake process for, onboarding projects. There's basic prioritization that has to happen to do selection. There's sourcing and planning of the projects, and then there's the execution and progress reporting, etc. So this doesn't change a whole lot, but we have to accommodate different dimensions of this as we try to successfully navigate through the life cycle of a project. Now, unless we do something about this proliferation of tools and all these different sources of data, we can end up with very costly and inefficient uses of our time, which kind of defeats the purpose of us becoming more agile in the first place. With all these different tools and data sources, it generally results in manual data crunching, multiple tools and multiple data sources, manual report creation after we crunch that data together and try to format and update that into a digestible format. If we have multiple tools, it's very possible that data re-entry or duplicate entry is required, because we have to execute in one place and possibly feed to the organization at the portfolio level the same information, but in a different tool set. It also makes us have to chase team members down for status and updates, because they're being asked to provide updates in a lot of different forms and formats and locations. Just the packaging and distribution of the reports becomes challenging. And just trying to track completeness and timeliness of submissions as we go through the update process can be very laborious. So we want to try to avoid this, or minimize or eliminate this altogether if we can. Now, OnePlan is designed to do those things. OnePlan really is designed to connect from your strategic level all the way down to your execution. Now, in this particular diagram, you see a portfolio at the top of the pyramid in OnePlan, and we're depicting that the execution tools that could be used could vary. In this very Microsoft-oriented view, I've got Project for the Web, their new scheduling offering, the traditional Microsoft Project Professional on the desktop, and Azure DevOps for Agile, all feeding into the portfolio data that's available in OnePlan. Now, let me state that OnePlan does not require these other tools. OnePlan does have its own waterfall scheduling capability and its own backlog and sprint planning capability within OnePlan itself. But many organizations are committed or have a lot of time and effort invested in plans built in these other tools. So we through experience, know that it's important for us to be able to accommodate these, at least in the near term. Now, OnePlan provides a variety of capabilities, roles, and process flows in there. So on the intake side of things, there's the upfront stuff that happens in an organization. Now, we're not going to focus on this piece today, but there is the capability for strategic planning and for objectives and key results by leadership so that they can actually plan and put a strategic plan execution in place and manage the execution of that plan right in OnePlan. We have ideas and requests and intake so that you can capture ideas, requests, and business cases right in OnePlan, vet them, prioritize them, select them, and promote them into projects at some point. That is definitely part of what we're discussing today. And then enterprise architecture, more of a strategic portfolio management concept where you might have to associate your projects with other elements like business capabilities and applications and such. But we're not going to focus on that aspect today, but it is a capability that OnePlan does have. Now, in the planning aspects of those things, once we start narrowing down the things that we want to work on, portfolio managers have to have visibility into all the projects and potential projects that we might be working on and have different comprehensive views and perspectives on that. OnePlan provides also resource capacity planning across the entire portfolio of work, regardless of the source of that information. And we also have detailed financial planning and tracking where we want to track things like time phase budgets or revised forecasts or actuals, or even forecast things like benefits and revenue over time on the efforts that we have when we're tracking things like return on investment. Now, once we get to execution, after we've decided on the portfolio and the things that we're going to do within there, the plan managers themselves might have work plans that are more waterfall based in OnePlan, or they might have more agile and sprint based plans and backlog based plans in OnePlan as well. These all coexist within the same OnePlan portfolio management solution. And as we mentioned earlier on, if you're using other execution tools, we have a wide variety of connectors that allow us to bring in the data from things like Microsoft Planner or Project or Smartsheet or Asana or Rike, Azure DevOps, Jira, etc. And the idea here is that it's flexible enough to really have you execute in that adaptive mode as we talked about. And from a team member perspective, being able to collect data and get status updates seamlessly, OnePlan does provide an onboard timesheet for those who want to track time for either billing or chargebacks or for capitalization of labor. Those types of things are available right within OnePlan itself. Or if you're not interested in tracking time, there's a My Work area where an individual contributor or a resource on your projects can have one place to go to see everything that's been put on their plate and assigned to them, where they can provide status, update conversations, notes of explanation, etc., all from a singular place and feed that back to the project and or project managers. Now, on top of that, while we're delivering, executives want information. So for example, consistent status report formats that include objective data from the tool itself, as well as a place to put narrative of explanations on how we're doing on these statuses. There's dashboards, a rich set of reports in a report pack that get natively fed from OnePlan, the data, such that we can do portfolio level, program level, project level, resource capacity level types of information that are at our fingertips for people that aren't even hands-on within OnePlan itself, that just access this stuff right from Power BI. And we even have visualizations. We talk about how these things can interrelate, whether it be strategies to projects or enterprise architecture elements to projects, etc. We have visualizations so that we can understand how all these things interrelate in a way that's digestible so we can factor that into our decision-making process. And then recently, we've added the concept of artificial intelligence. And this artificial intelligence is going to be something that we're going to talk about today, is how it augments and helps in this area and revolutionizes the way that we can interact with this data and digest it. The other part about OnePlan is it's flexible enough to meet the needs across all the parts of your organization horizontally. We think about these things sometimes in terms of the PMO or similar EPMOs, but other areas like transformation programs, the IT department, product development, professional services, sales and marketing, operations, just to name a few. These are all areas that can have their own portfolios of work within OnePlan and have them comprehensively viewed, accessed, and managed from one particular place. Now, when we talked about the use of multiple tools, I'm not talking about coding one-off integrations or connectors. OnePlan has its own connector platform called OneConnect, and pre-built connectors for things like Microsoft Project for the web, Jira, Azure DevOps, etc., as well as other genres of tools like CRM systems or service management tools, financial systems, etc. And the idea here is this built-in connector technology really helps us realize the benefits of an adaptive project and portfolio management process. And these can be simply implemented and configured to meet the needs that you have to bring all that data together into a common portfolio solution. Just a couple of examples of that. One might be you doing it all in one. It's an adaptive PPM solution with hybrid teams of traditional leadership that wants to see traditional business metrics. And that portfolio management capability would happen up at the top here in OnePlan. But there might be waterfall scheduling capabilities or agile planning capabilities that are happening within OnePlan itself. No need for additional execution tools in this regard. That being said, if you have a commitment to some other execution tools, we can do this differently. For example, the waterfall component could be coming from a Microsoft project plan or Microsoft project for the web plan. The agile backlogs and sprint plans could be coming over from Azure DevOps, for example, in this case. But OnePlan's still managing the program and portfolio management level, things like intake and investment approval, and even the financial and resource capacity planning, even though the execution data may be coming from other execution tools. The same thing would hold true in this same thing with Jira, right? That same use case for Agile with other waterfall scheduling with things like Project is a use case that's very readily supported by OnePlan. Also, if you're using, let's just say you become one of those dark blue, shift to the left, all Agile organizations. There may be multiple Agile tools in place like a Jira and Azure DevOps. And maybe people want to manage the portfolio in a more Agile fashion by doing things like program increment planning and other things working in boards primarily. We support that so that we can do a fully Agile portfolio management solution as well, as opposed to maybe a more adaptive solution, but just be aware that this capability exists. Now, how would something like this work? Well, a lot of the execution tools, and I'm going to use Azure DevOps and Jira as an example here. In these particular cases, they're good at doing the execution levels, but not real good at doing the portfolio level types of capabilities that we're discussing here. For example, as we go through here, the dividing line here might be a tie-off, and a common use case that we have is where the epic level in the Agile tool may be what ties off to the portfolio level over in OnePlan. And so you might go through and do intake and requests for projects or efforts over here in OnePlan, approve them as candidates, and then ultimately have them be things you want to execute on. And potentially then that epic or work portfolio item then becomes, say, an epic or ties to an epic over in Azure DevOps and Jira would be a common case. But now, this being the Agile execution tool, all the details might be managed over here in the Agile tool, Azure DevOps or Jira. And that's where they're planning out all the different backlogs and features and user stories, tasks, bugs, etc. And then as those get updated, those would, through the connector, be routinely fed back with current updates back to the portfolio management solution and rolled up to the portfolio for current information based upon what's going on over here in Azure DevOps and Jira. So that's something that happens automatically without user intervention for having to manually sync or remember to sync that data. The other part of this, outside of just data integration, where we're sharing data from other tools into OnePlan, we also have a fused UI strategy, we call it, to help people stay working in those primary tools that they work in every day. Now, OnePlan is designed to be used just in a browser. You don't need what I'm going to show you here, but you can use OnePlan just in your favorite browser. That being said, if you're working in a Power Apps environment and need to consume OnePlan from within a Power App, we have the ability to fuse the OnePlan capabilities right into your Power Apps environment. The same thing holds true with Teams. OnePlan is an authorized Microsoft Teams application, and OnePlan can be accessed from within Teams in general or inserted into any given team or channel that you might have within your Teams environment. In Azure DevOps, as an example, we talked about how we could share data with Azure DevOps. On the other hand, there's things that Azure DevOps doesn't do, like on the resource capacity planning or maybe the portfolio management side of things. And we can access those OnePlan capabilities while we're in Azure DevOps without having to leave Azure DevOps with this fused UI strategy. The same thing holds true in OnePlan and Dynamics, OnePlan within SharePoint, and in a non-Microsoft realm, we're doing the same thing within Jira, being able to access those capabilities while you're in Jira itself. So once again, optionally things that you can do with this fused UI experience, but we're designed to accommodate this. Now we're excited to announce, just recently we launched Sofia GPT, which is OnePlan's AI component within OnePlan itself. We like to refer to this as AI as a collaborator, as an assistant for us. And it is a revolutionary new language model for strategic and adaptive portfolio management. It is based on Azure OpenAI GPT, not the general OpenAI. So there's a little bit more boundary and security around that in Microsoft's Azure. And we further developed this in Sofia to revolutionize the way people manage their strategic portfolio and their work. It understands natural language requests, responds in real time, and it helps streamline tasks and the decision-making process within that. We're going to go through some examples here today. And it automates several tedious and time-consuming tasks like data entry and information retrieval and finding data anomalies and a variety of other things that we're going to talk about here today. But the idea here is that it's here to stay, this AI component, and we're really working hard to leverage this to have it add value to assist you in getting better at your adaptive portfolio management. So areas that Sofia can help you in AI are things like in your strategic planning, in your portfolio optimization, in your work management or schedule building, risk assessment, resource allocation, and even investment forecasting. These are areas that we're currently addressing today in OnePlan with Sofia GPT, and we're already planning and working on adding more to that mix. So with that, I'd like to just demonstrate a couple things within the tool set for you to think about, and then I'll go through some AI-based use cases that we can work with. So if I go to a project summary view here within OnePlan, and what I'm looking at here is actually a portfolio of projects in just kind of a flat view. But in the concept of adaptive project and portfolio management, you'll notice we have this thing called the concept of a plan type. And in these plan types, you'll notice in this flat list of elements, I have some that are projects and some are epics. And in this particular case, we've denoted that to delineate between more waterfall type of projects and maybe more agile efforts that we're working on. And those plan types can be defined any way you like to accommodate however many different types of projects or efforts you might want to have in your portfolio. And those plan types can also have a hierarchy to them such that these projects and epics might fall under programs or under portfolios or whatever other structure that you might think be appropriate for your organization to model your portfolio or portfolios. Also notice that next to the plans, there are icons that are indicating to me that we are linked to data in other tools. For example, I have a link to a Azure DevOps plan as well as to a team site. I have a link here to Project Professional. In this one, I have a link to Team Site and Project Professional. I also have a link to, say, Smartsheet or to Planner. Also notice that I have some that have no icons at all, meaning the entire project is being managed right within OnePlan itself. So this whole notion of adaptive on the tool of choice and the power of choice that you have there is exemplified by what you're seeing here in this particular portfolio view. Now, these portfolio views, can have a variety of things in there, right? Instead of a general KPI summary view here, I might want to look at something that's strictly focused on, how we're doing from a schedule perspective, for example, and how we're doing with our schedule metrics on that, and how those timelines are laying out. We might want to look at them maybe more from a financial focus, or et cetera, on what those things might be, from how we're tracking from financial performance on these projects and epics. And even we snapshot data such that, you can come in here and look at a trend analysis on certain key elements that you want to do trend analysis on, and look at those things and see how we're improving or maybe regressing over time on certain key elements as we go through this. So very flexible views of a variety of different things with these list views. Now, if I drill into a specific project, I just want to emphasize at this point that OnePlan provides the ability to categorize and characterize your projects in a variety of different ways and have the data elements that you want to track in this details page. It also gives us the ability to build work plans. And the work plans have this concept of work types, much like we have plan types at the portfolio level. And in this particular project, for example, I might be looking at a work type called a schedule work type. And that schedule work type might be primarily oriented towards waterfall type schedules. And so, for example, I've got a waterfall plan in here. I've got it broken out into a work breakdown structure like you would typically find. I can view it with or without a Gantt chart view at any given point in time as I want to look through that. And it also gives me the ability to decide, do I want to build this internally here in OnePlan from a template, where I can come in here and say, let me insert a template, and you can have a template library that allows you to work with these things and have your own templates and et cetera. And I'll show you an AI version of that in a little bit. Or as in this case, we can actually be connected to, or choose to connect to another tool like a Microsoft Project Professional Plan, or a Project for the Web Plan, or a Planner Plan. And the idea being is that it could be sourced from that and synchronized with that to derive this view that you're looking at here. Now, in this particular case, I have a backlog work type available to me as well. And in this case, I might have an Agile component, or it might be an all Agile plan, where I'm building a backlog of features and user stories and tasks, et cetera, in here. And in this particular case, I could have built this directly here in OnePlan, but in this particular case, this is connected to an Azure DevOps plan. And if you wanted to really look at this, it's connected, it's telling me the status of that, and I can show that it's actually connected to an Azure DevOps epic, and it's synchronizing that data from that particular epic in Azure DevOps. So as we're looking at this, here's the Azure DevOps piece. We have a variety of different, epics, features and user stories and tasks involved with this. They're synchronizing with OnePlan, as well as giving us the ability to access OnePlan capabilities right here from within Azure DevOps. So for example, if I wanted to go into this particular epic and I wanted to look at, let's just say the portfolio view from within here, I could access that right from within Azure DevOps. So once again, multiple tool sets, multiple methodologies. And in here, you can also have other work types for things like tracking issues and risks and changes and key decisions all in one place. Now, the resource plans gives us the ability to have a common place where we can either build top-down capacity plans or bottom-up resource visibility into the roll-up of all the tasks and work items that people have been assigned. In this case, you can plan in terms of hours, percentages of allocation, or FTEs from this top-down plan as we're looking to see what resources we might need on a particular plan. Or we could go bottom-up, what we call a scheduled work type, where it's taking the aggregation of all the tasks that somebody might be assigned to within a plan. And these are the different tasks or work items that Jack Barker is on within this particular project that's rolling up into that capacity level. Now, what's nice about this is you might have a top-down capacity plan that you had assumptions when you first started this thing. Then you build a schedule and modify that over time. And you might want to be able to compare that such that if I want to compare the top-down with the bottom-up plan, we can do that. And we can look at what we thought we were going to need versus what the schedule says is going to actually happen during the current plan, and we can see where there's variations across that theme and see where our assumptions may have to be adjusted. The same thing holds true with financial plans, where we can actually track financials and detailed cost categories, and we can track things like actuals, budget, forecast, and as they change over time. So you might have a budget that you establish with different cost categories, but you might also compare those to revised forecasts as the data changes and look at how they're shifting, where your forecast of where you're going to end up may differ from what you originally budgeted, and be able to track those variances. So all in all, even though these plans might be using different execution tools and different methodologies, we provide a consistent method for resource planning and financial planning across all of that portfolio. So that's just a little something on the adaptive piece I wanted to show there today. And you know, for people that are more agile oriented, you don't have to have list views for your portfolio. You can work with your portfolio in different boards, and these boards can be configured to have different columns. In this case, it's business units. The color coding of the cards are by overall health, red, yellow, green. You can even add other swim lanes based upon the data you have against these projects, where if I was going to look at these things and say, you know, what teams are working on this, I can see the wind power team is working on a bunch of IT projects and one marketing project, as opposed to what the solar panels team is working on, which is one of them is for product development, etc. So very flexible views there, as well as your roadmap views. So all this is being derived from the core data that's coming into OnePlan, whether it be entered in OnePlan itself or coming from other tool sets. Now, if I go back to a prioritization view here in OnePlan, and I want to ask it and use Sofia. Now I have a bunch of pre-done ones so that I don't have to bore you with a lot of data entry and typing. But if I came into Sofia here in this prioritization view, it's going to look at not only its own knowledge base, but it's also going to look at the OnePlan data itself. And be aware that you can do your settings in OnePlan so that you can only look at the OnePlan data if you like, or if you can look at other data sources that Azure OpenAI has available to it, not the general OpenAI or ChatGPT, but the one that Microsoft has enabled through Azure. So if I ask a question here like, oh, let me see here, out of this plan, let me just say something like, which plans should we consider canceling if I have a constraint, right? And I'm thinking I might gotta offload something. It's doing some thinking, and based upon the data it's got there, it's going to provide some answer to me, to give me some insight, or at least give me some direction into where I should be looking. Now you could analyze things like this yourself, but if I came in here and I kind of opened the view, it's telling me it's important to look at a number of factors like the strategic alignment, prioritization, budget, and benefits. But based on the provided data, it's telling me that these are the ones that might be my primary candidates to consider canceling. One of them is already on hold, two of them, the second one's already on a hold with a lower prioritization score. And another one is questionable as its overall importance. And it's also cautioning me that there's other things I should consider before I actually go ahead and cancel it. So the idea is it's giving me insights into things that might have taken me quite some time to come to in just analyzing the raw data in my view. So just be aware that wherever you're at in the portfolio, the resource plan, in the strategic area, et cetera, you can access Sofia at any given point in time. And there are some examples in here of what questions you might ask it that's contextual based upon the area of OnePlan that you're in. So just be aware that this is real, it is available, and it's not an additional module. It's provided as part of your core OnePlan license. It's part of the base solution that we provide. Now, if I go back to my slideshow, I have some, some predefined things to talk about how AI might be used in this context of adaptive portfolio management. So for portfolio optimization, it could be used for data analysis, which I just showed a little bit of that, prediction and forecasting, risk assessment, portfolio optimization. And as I go in here, for example, I could go in and look at a portfolio view and say, provide me a summary of the portfolio data. And if I do that, it can go and it'll run. And in this case, we're going to ask it a question. And please provide me with a summary of the data in my portfolio. And now it's going and encapsulating all that based upon different aspects. How many are active and proposed and on hold, distribution, and different metrics. And it's giving me the analysis in a succinct narrative way based upon that question. So I can get kind of a succinct update on that. And then it says, which projects are the highest risk and explain why as a secondary question. And now it's looking at support customer using mobile. It's a high risk because of its prioritization score, meaning it's important, that there's a number of active issues and risks that are causing some delays, and that there is a budget variance. So it's given me some insight into that, which is a very cool thing to have. If I go into our modeler, which is our what if capability within OnePlan, and look at this in a what if mode and going into a modeler view in here, I could go in here and look at, for example, which plans will allow me to maximize benefits while minimizing budget is a question that I'm going to ask it now. In this particular case, it's giving me the benefits to budget ratios. It's giving me the candidates of the plans that meet that criteria. And at the end, it's basically telling me that, and then it's asking me based upon this, on this criteria, which project should I cancel, which I asked earlier. Now it's telling me to look at a number of different things, but based upon this, I've got 2 on hold projects that look to be of medium priority that are already on hold. And I have some that have a low benefits to budget ratio. So the idea is it's giving me analysis based upon just natural language questions that I asked. I also have an ideas area, like I talked about in OnePlan, that allows me to pre-project capture ideas and business cases, etc. And in this particular case, I can ask it to help me select which projects I should promote based upon certain criteria. So in this particular case, let me ask it, select projects based on prioritization score and balanced investment horizon that total $3 million in budget. And now it's given me a list of projects and their budgets that we should prioritize and that fit within the $3 million budget. So it fits under the $3 million, and it's given me a prioritized list of the projects that we should work on as we work through that, through these ideas. So if we were going to add a net $3 million worth of projects, this has given me some suggestions of what I should add. Now, if we take this to the next step and we look at work management, getting down to the project planning, etc., AI can help us with things like work plan creation and schedule risk assessment and schedule optimization. And as I go through into that, here I'm looking at a business case and asking it to help me write a business case for this framework to port applications project based upon the data we already have in here. And so as it asking, please define the description, business case, and value statement for the project. So just natural language request, and let's see what it comes up with. So it's given me the description. Now it's writing out a business case. And now it's writing out a value statement as requested. Now, this may just give us food for thought that we can refine and turn it into our own business case. But in lieu of starting this thought process from scratch, it can save us a lot of time and effort and also give us some insights that we might not have come up with on our own. So there's also help in building schedules. So AI can actually help you build schedules and templates based upon criteria. So for example, if I run the query here that I run, and I can ask for a new project, and as I do this, it's going to give me options to build a plan. And as I go into the template area, I can actually choose to have AI help. Now, I might have my own templates stored, but I'm going to ask it for a criteria basis here. Give me a schedule that might be good for smart home automation. And it actually provided me a work breakdown structure for that I can actually use as a template. I can map resources to my resources in my resource pool, and then actually create that project plan in here based upon AI's input, which is amazing. It just gives me the ability to create that, and then hopefully it allows me to identify in this plan things like risk and what might be some things that I might want to be aware of. So for example, a secondary question, it says rank the task by highest risk and explain why. And now it is listing the tasks and why. It's saying there are some critical and complex things in here that are high risk. Some are high risk because of the nature of the work, where there's variables that have to be addressed. And once again, it's giving me that assessment for my plan to help me consider things that I might not have otherwise. And then also optimization in the schedule. So if I came in here and I wanted to have it look at the schedule and optimize the schedule and duration and cost, it's going to find, in this case, some opportunities where it's saying there's certain things that I could be able to run in parallel to save me some days, that they're not in parallel in the current schedule. Or there's certain things that could be developed concurrently that could save time, ultimately saving me time in a schedule that down below is telling me what those dates and durations are in order to update that schedule based upon some input from Sofia on how we might be able to optimize that. So once again, pretty cool stuff on helping me optimize and get better at this. Risk identification and mitigation, identifying risk, predicting risks, recommending mitigation strategies. Here's an example where we can identify potential risks and how to mitigate them. So if I come in here and run this one, and I go into the risks area within the work types, and I don't have any risks there, but please identify for this type of project potential risks and how to mitigate them. And in this particular case, there are privacy and security risks and some potential risks itemized here and some mitigation strategies. And then, some interoperability and compatibility risks and how we might mitigate those. So once again, it's helping me identify risks that I might want to monitor over the course of this particular project. The other aspect here is resource planning. And you might want to do resource queries, where we might ask it something like rank the resource by highest risk and explain why. And in this particular project, it's listing different resources that are at risk and saying that we have over allocations in certain periods that are going to make it impossible for some of these resources to do what they have, or some of them beyond just over allocation might not be properly specified. For example, we still have a generic project manager assigned to a task where we haven't named a person to actually do that work. So once again, it is giving me insights into how I might better do the resourcing in this. And then you might ask it to provide a sample resource plan. Given the nature of the project and what you already have in here, it could potentially give you a sample resource plan in here. So if I run this, it's going to suggest a resource plan. So the project duration's in here, and we got the months and the total hours, and now it's suggesting a rollout by role. And it seems to be smart enough to know, for example, that I don't need QA at the beginning, it's months. I need them more towards the latter part of the project. It knows that, for example, a business analyst is needed more upfront than on the back end, etc. Same with the development side of things. So it's actually using some assumptions based upon the size and the scope and giving me some information that I need to help me build that plan. And then the ability to, just optimize a resource plan as we go through and be able to give some suggestions on how we might improve a resource plan. It might give us some suggestions in that area. So once again, hopefully you're getting the picture here that we really have an assistant here that can help give us insights, suggestions, and even streamline the amount of time it takes to do tasks that we do today within our current project management tools. Now, I would say to the end of this, you can even ask it what resources I need to hire, and it'll let you know which roles and which skill sets that you're short on and where you might want to consider hiring and for what time frames. There's also investment forecasting and predictive analysis on things like financials. So you could predict forecasting cost, optimize spending, provide real-time insights. So for example, what are the key insights and trends that can be inferred from the financial data in this particular project? So in this particular case, it's going to ask, and talks about the majority of expenses are categorized under OpEx. There's a notable increase in the budget for developer resources, and saying that we might want to highlight and look at that and why that is. And so it's giving us insights on the things we might look at for anomalies or trends that are going on within the financial plan. And it asks us if we have any recommendations here. And it says, based on this, it gives us some recommendations to reassess personnel costs, review budget allocation in some of the critical phases, especially for developer, and et cetera. So it's really, really trying to help us focus our attentions on areas that need it. You could also provide a project summary email to your manager or a status report, for example. So I'll just do this last one because there's variations of the theme here that I won't be duplicative. But if I come in here and say, help me write a project summary to my email, to my manager, it's now writing in an email format, dear manager's name, I hope this finds you well, and is providing a synopsis of the project that I can send to somebody in an email format, giving me objectives, progress, key metrics on things like effort, financials, KPIs, etc. And basically providing this type of information that you can then transmit over to your manager. So once again, you could do an email summary, you could do a status report narrative, you could do other things as well. So hopefully we gave you a flavor of some of the things that are possible to help streamline and augment and really extend our analysis capabilities within our portfolio. So let's talk about summarization and next steps. So the value of OnePlan for adaptive PPM, let's start there. It ensures that organizations are working on the right things and aligned to strategies and priorities. It provides visibility across all work and provides rapid response to changing conditions so they're not hidden in different silos of information. It also gives you the opportunity to keep users working in their preferred tools and solutions with our fused UI capability or with our connector capability, such that we can get the data that they're working on into that common portfolio. And also you have them use tools that are appropriate for their role and type of work. It also supports a variety of execution methods and tools like we talked about, improves the adoption by minimizing duplication of effort and unnecessary complexity, so it simplifies. It also provides a modern user experience, and that always helps to drive better participation and compliance than using some of the older school tools that can be a little clunky. It also integrates all work and resources into a common hub, so we don't have to manually mash that up together. And our teams can continue to be as agile as they need to be, but leadership gets the visibility with the metrics that they require. And as we showed you through the last part of this, Sofia GPT provides an AI assistant for advanced analysis and for automation and the streamlining of tasks that you have to provide and do on a routine basis. And once again, this is available today. When you implement a OnePlan trial or implement OnePlan for your organization, Sofia GPT is a standard capability that's provided with our OnePlan licenses subscriptions. Now, we do this because project and portfolio management is our passion. We do this primarily in the Microsoft cloud these days, but we're branching out. And Microsoft has recognized our efforts here by naming us their Project and Portfolio Management Global Partner of the Year 3 of the last 4 years. And the analysts like Gartner and Infotech Research have recognized us for the things that we're doing in these areas as well. So we're not just a general systems integrator or software development. This is what we focus on. Now, if you want to get started today, you can get a free trial of OnePlan. You just can go to oneplan.ai/solutions or into Microsoft's App Source, and in there you'll find different templates. Now, for what we did today, the adaptive project portfolio management is the one that would allow you to do the adaptive pieces on their own. But if you want to expand that to include things like the strategic execution plans and the enterprise architecture components, you could use the strategic portfolio management piece if you want to go more broad on that. But that's where I would suggest that you start based upon the topic areas that we talked about today. And we can help you. If you still want to discuss this more, we can offer you a free roadmap workshop, which is more of a discovery session with you to review your current use of solutions and tools, assess your current requirements and the desired future state you'd like to get to. And we can help you determine what the implementation plan or roadmap would be to get there, possibly in stages, and what those stages might be. We can talk about what that total cost of ownership might be, because being that we leverage a lot of the Microsoft tools, you may already own a substantial portion of what you need on this. So it might just only be an incremental investment for you. So the free trial, please take us up on that, and we're happy to chaperone you. You don't have to do it on your own. So please reach out to us and we're happy to guide you. The roadmap workshop that we talked about, or if you're not there yet and you want to see more, we can offer you a free personalized one-on-one demo that is more geared towards not just this generalized overview, but something more focused on your specific use cases and needs. Just reach out to us at contact@oneplan.ai if you'd like to arrange something like that. We would like to engage with you. And if you just want to do some more research, go to www.oneplan.ai, and we have a lot of information about these solutions and features and capabilities. So with that, I'd like to thank you for carving out this hour for us today. OnePlan does provide what we call the power of one, bringing all these things together into one common forum, into one common hub. You'll get a copy of these slides. If you have any questions for me directly and want to reach out directly, you can reach me out at my email and also at the general contact at oneplan.ai as well. So OnePlan is meant to provide you one interface, one experience in one plan. Thank you again, and we really hope to cross paths with you in the future. Have a great day.